One of my friends has a family that's been plagued by ghosts for years. It begins with my friend's mom. We'll call her Regina. Regina is a very spiritual woman, and what I mean is that she seems to attract entities or supernatural beings from beyond. So Regina and her family have always had spirits around them. It doesn't matter where this family moves, the ghosts are sure to follow. Even at her workplace, Regina hears someone call her name. She answers, "What?" But nobody's there. At times, Regina's working at her computer, then sees the dark shadow of a man to the side of her. When she turns around, the shadow is gone. Sometimes she'll be in the back of the store pulling boxes. Before she could take them to the assembly area, the boxes start flying off the shelf, one after the other. And Regina's like, "What the hell?" One time, a whole bicycle was thrown from the scaffold above. Regina, annoyed, said, "I don't have time for your nonsense right now." As a mentionable note, she works at a retail store in Culver City. I find it coincidental that her store is located very close to the Holy Cross Cemetery. At home, Regina's not left alone either. Sometimes it's hard for her to get a good night's sleep. One night she was sleeping and she was awakened by a child's voice saying, "Grandma, Grandma." But when Regina woke, nobody was there. Just the other day she was cleaning and thought she saw a little boy. But again, nobody else was home. Regina has gotten used to her resident ghost. They may not pay rent, but sometimes they do make themselves useful. For instance, when Regina was sleeping one day, something shook her until she woke up. It turns out that somebody was breaking in through the kitchen window. Regina was able to stop him in his tracks. Apparently, Regina's daughter Sonia inherited the same sixth sense. Over at Sonia's house, she's got more evil spirits. It all began with Regina's granddaughter Jackie when she was just 7 years old. Jackie would be in a corner of the house just talking. She told Sonia, "Mom, I'm talking to my friend. Do you see my friend? The little boy sitting over there." Sonia started wondering what the heck is going on around here. Weird things began happening in Sonia's house. Whenever they left, they'd come back home and find something missing. Like a house key would disappear and would be impossible to find, even after searching the whole house, only to reappear when you no longer need it. Things escalated quickly at Sonia's house. She couldn't sleep at night. Something kept pulling the blankets off of her and Jackie. Shortly after, there was a rotten smell that lingered throughout the house. At first, Sonia thought it might be something rotting in the kitchen that went bad, but nothing spoiled could be found in the kitchen nor anywhere else in the house. Sonia felt that it was an evil presence and got really scared. She asked her mom if she could come stay with them for a while. Regina agreed and ended up staying with them for a month. As soon as she got there, Regina witnessed the frightful episodes for herself. After showering at Sonia's house and steaming up the bathroom, you'd find that someone or something has wiped a perfect circle on the foggy mirror. When they went to sleep at night, again, something was snatching the blankets off of them. Both Sonia and Regina could feel a heavy presence sitting on them. Regina asked, "Do you feel that?" "Yes," said Sonia. They had to tug Jackie in between them because something kept grabbing at her little arms and raising them in the air. Yet Jackie was fast asleep. Regina and Sonia had to lay their own legs over Jackie's limbs to keep them from sliding in the air. They can feel something nudging them, trying to move them off of Jackie. But wait, it gets worse. One day, Regina had a very bad feeling. She took hold of a cross and went around the house sprinkling holy water as she prayed. Regina still felt uneasy. Then she was overcome with something that just entered her body. Sonia was crying, "Mom, your eyes, your eyes." Regina's eyes rolled up toward the back of her head. Only the whites of her eyes showed while her mouth opened. She was fighting whatever was trying to possess her. Regina kept praying and declared to the demon that she is the daughter of Jesus. Sonia watched as the walls turned blood red and ran out the house. Regina struggled with the entity. Then suddenly everything went calm. Now the whole family was sleeping on the living room floor. Tony was frightened when he felt something trying to touch him. He said, "Don't touch me." Then a fog bank formed surrounding the family where they lay. The thick cloud covered them and the entire living room floor. Tony didn't stay much longer at Sonia's house. When his mom came over, she refused to enter his house. Tony said, "Mom, come in." Regina said, "I love you guys, but I can't. I can't come in." Regina didn't want to risk bringing the spirits that were attached to her into Tony's home. She just dropped off the groceries on the doorstep and left. Sonia believed somebody put a curse on her. They actually went to see someone in downtown LA for help. They had Sonia drink a concoction and gave her some special oils to take home. They made some recommendations that involved garlic and sprinkling white flowers inside her house and other things of that sort. It's been over 10 years and the paranormal activity has calmed down. But before Jackie went off to college, she said, "Mom, the smell is back." Jackie's about 20 years old now, the same age Sonia was when her nightmare began. This haunting just happened during the recent COVID pandemic. The story revolves around my Aunt Angelyne. She just passed away March 31st, most likely from the coronavirus. She had most of the symptoms, but it was ruled a stroke. Plus, her husband and both her sons got the virus. In fact, her eldest son was in a coma and hospitalized for over a month. But that's another story. Angelyne lived her last days in Los Angeles. As a brief backstory, she left behind a big triplex building in Mexico. It consists of 3 townhouses. Her youngest son lives in one unit, and her only daughter, who is my cousin Elsa, lives in the second unit. The third unit was formerly my aunt's home, but Elsa and her family took it over and turned Angelyne's house into offices for their family business. You can guess that Elsa and her husband removed Angelyne's furniture and set up shop to run their company from there. The only thing they kept was my aunt and uncle's clothes in the attic, and nobody goes up there except Elsa's daughters, who are in their 20s. We'll call them China and Valerie. China keeps her dogs up on the roof, so when she goes to feed them, she takes the same stairs that lead to the attic. A few times when she was feeding the dogs, she saw a raccoon up there. She noticed that the raccoon was digging a hole in the roof. China made the mistake of telling her mom. Elsa suggested they take the clothes out of the attic before the raccoon gets to them. She figured this was a good time to take inventory since they were in quarantine anyway. Elsa recruited Valerie and China to help her go through Angelyne's belongings. They rummaged through her stuff and found some documents and a lifetime of photos. But most of all, they were left with my aunt's oversized clothes. My uncle's Sunday best was there too, old suits that would only appeal to Mr. Furley. The girls sorted the clothing in black trash bags. They stuck everything back in the storage room that's located in the attic. Elsa told her daughters to make sure they lock that door so that the raccoon doesn't break in there. The next day, Elsa went upstairs to feed the dogs. She noticed that the door to the attic was unlocked. She came downstairs and ripped her daughters a new one. Elsa screamed, "The raccoon is gonna get in there and ruin everything." China insisted that she remembered clearly locking the door, but her mom kept nagging and scolding her and Valerie. She had them take the clothing back out from the storage. Elsa decided at that moment she would give the clothes away. I should mention that they have surveillance cameras posted up on the roof. After all, they are running a company out of there with valuable equipment. Gina had the notion to take one of the cameras and point it toward the attic door. She was still fuming from the tongue lashing her mom gave her. Next time someone leaves it unlocked, she was not going to take the blame. She set up the motion sensor camera and activated the alerts to go straight to her phone. She planned on busting the culprit red-handed. When Gina went to bed that night, she had trouble sleeping. It was past 2 a.m. and she was tossing and turning. At that hour, she heard a notification on her cell. To her surprise, something tripped the motion sensor on the camera. Gina knew everyone else was asleep, so she grabbed her cell phone and reviewed the footage at once. To her shock, the camera captured the door to the attic unlocking by itself, the heavy latch turning by itself, and the door opening on its own volition. If you look at the screen, you can see the footage for yourself. My niece was gracious to send me the actual video. When I reviewed the footage, I could hear the door creaking open and the sound of the latch. I also noticed the timestamp of 2:02 a.m. The next day, Gina went to tell her other grandma, Esperanza. Her grandmother is a regular churchgoer and very religious. Esperanza believes that Angelyne's spirit is not resting because of everything going on, namely my uncle who she left behind, and both her sons all infected with COVID-19. Esperanza took it upon herself to say some prayers. She also ordered that in the meanwhile, they should return Angelyne's belongings to the storage room in the attic. After all, that is her property, and anyone who knew my aunt knows that she was very particular with her things. The very next day, the granddaughters rushed to put Angelyne's stuff back into storage. They hurriedly chucked the bags in the attic because they were scared the whole time. As a tribute to Angelyne, they still had her altar set up from the Novenario. For those of you not familiar with Mexican culture, after a loved one dies, it is customary to pray for the dearly departed for 9 days straight. A memorial is set up with pictures, candles, and favorite mementos of your loved one. During those 9 days, close friends and family stop in, usually in the evening, to pray, socialize, and pay their respects. This is known as the Novenario. Included amongst Angelyne's mementos was a heavy candy dish made of crystal. Anyone who knew Angelyne knows that she had a sweet tooth. At night, Gina hears the heavy lid from the candy dish being moved, as if someone is taking a piece of candy and readjusting the lid. This frightens Gina, and she hides under the blankets to pray. Footsteps can also be heard, especially on the wooden stairs. Valerie is familiar with the distinct sound of everyone's steps. For instance, her mom drags her feet around when she walks. Not exactly a ballerina. Valerie can always tell who's coming upstairs, but since the passing of Aunt Angelyne, a different set of footsteps is treading around. Valerie describes that they sound heavy, and she could hear both the stairs and banister creaking, as if someone is leaning on the handrails, the same sound Angelyne made when she used to climb the stairs. Knowing my aunt, she's probably checking on her family to make sure they're not mishandling her stuff, while still doing what she loves, regulating from beyond. Juanita had bought a couple of dolls in Coyoacan, Mexico. Although they were small, she found them to be very unique. They were adorned with beautiful wings on their little backs. They were a pair of fairy dolls. Juanita decided she was going to surprise her mama with them. You see, Juanita's mother collects dolls, and she knew she didn't have any dolls like these. Juanita was right. Her mama loved the dolls. She placed them on a table for all to see. She adored those dolls until the day she died. It occurred to Juanita to move the fairy dolls into the china cabinet along with the rest of her mom's figurines. She put the two fairies up front and center. That way she could show off their pretty faces. A week later, Juanita went to dust the china cabinet with all her mom's dolls. Right away, she noticed that the fairies were not the way she left them. She knew she had them showcased in front of all the crystal inside the cabinet. Juanita asked her son if he moved the dolls. He said, "Of course not, Mama. You know I don't play with dolls." Juanita repositioned the dolls after she dusted the china cabinet. 3 days later, she checked on the dolls. This time the dolls were completely moved around with their backs to each other. Juanita again put the dolls back. 8 days later, again, the dolls were moved with their backs facing the front of the cabinet. Juanita questioned everyone left in the house. She asked her husband and her daughter if they by chance were moving the dolls. They assured Juanita they had not touched the fairies. Ever since her mother passed away, strange things began happening in Juanita's house. She started to wonder if all these occurrences were related. Juanita told her daughter that she was going to relocate the dolls from the china cabinet. Maybe they don't like being cooped up in there, she said. They need to spread their wings. Juanita's daughter said, "Oh, Mom, don't be silly." Juanita took the fairies out, and they stayed put. It's no coincidence that these were her mother's favorite dolls. Juanita could feel her mother's presence still. She describes her late mom as being a wonderful homemaker. Her favorite place was in the kitchen. It's no wonder they hear noises coming mainly from the kitchen, drawers opening, pots and pans being moved. Even the family dog barks at the kitchen. Some of Juanita's friends are too scared to go in the kitchen. They say they can feel a presence. Juanita's daughter has also been spooked. She can feel someone sit on her bed at night. Sometimes she'll wake up and see a shadow near the stairs. Juanita told her children it's just their grandmother and they shouldn't be afraid. Grandma's still with them, watching over them, and that's the way she wants it to stay.